things that you guys have compiled lots of local data, as well as you've, like, I think Anna's mentioned, this is a national coalition, right? You guys have been working together for years, and this national data is going to be really important as well. So, and especially in the faces of people who are saying there's not enough data, it's not recent enough, or only sharing anecdotes from privilege, right? And so, love for you guys to share about some of the biggest pieces of the research you guys have done.
So in my experience of working within this campaign, I hear a lot of people saying, well, will they keep us safe? You know, they one of the biggest things I hear is like, they make sure, especially with my school, that people get home safely and things like that. And I'm like, well, one, that's not their job. That's the job of the safe passage people around the school, which I have personal relationships with. I've never had an SOR walk me home or anything like that, or keep me safe in the neighborhood. But maybe that's someone else's experience. And I think another thing that is important that we realize is, like, I think Curie High School, they have like 9 counselors and no SRO officers. And they're deemed one of those bad schools, which let's not even get into that. But they're, to see like the success of what counselors over cops, you know, is, and like how restorative justice and how things like that affect people, and like the research that has come out around that, like, it's kind of uncanny. Like, why do we still have cops in schools if we already see the results of putting resources over cops? So I think that's just something that we should keep in mind. And then we should also keep in mind, like, the city budget, and just see how much the city prioritizes policing over, you know, resources for the community. And just really like wonder, like, are these the people we want in office, or are these the people we want making decisions for us?
Yeah, to hit on what Dream was just talking about, like, if you look up allegations, like, I was in a call, and literally, like, King has 60 allegations, and it's ridiculous because it's Black and brown schools. And I never understood who thought that, like, I grew up all my life seeing my cousins, my brothers, my aunties, my mom was getting locked up by these police officers, and then I go into a school and it's supposed to make me think that they're going to make me safe. Like, when I can't handle something, yeah, these are the people that I call, even though all my life all I've seen them do is put my people behind bars, right? And then not only that, but, like, I don't know, the conversation is always like, they protect us against these murderers and rapists, but, like, do we forget that these are the murderers and these are the rapists? Like, the people that get put in our schools are the ones who couldn't do their job enough in the streets, and now we sit them with our children, our babies, our future. Like, it never made sense to me. And in terms of, like, research, I also believe strongly in that, like, people's experiences is its own research. Like, my experience is research. The fact that, like, people have been threatened with being arrested because they wanted to sell Starburst in order for the choir trip is ridiculous to me, right? Yeah, just adding on to.
Real quick, I just like love when I'm on panels with other young folk, especially with, like, young folk that I do know. Like, I know I've, like, thrown down with Dream. I've thrown down with all of these young folk on this other panel, and it's just like I just love doing stuff with them, like the energy. But I also just the only thing I'm gonna say on this thing is the belief that police keep us safe is a belief that stems from a place of privilege. And I think if at some point in your life you have believed that, just like I have believed that, I think it's time for some self-reflection and some research, which is, you know, if you look at the chat, a lot of homies are dropping links for research on websites where you can get research, just saying. Okay. But yeah, check yourself and check your privilege.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you for providing that. Please do check out that report. That's where a lot of Raise Your Hand has pulled some of their data from, right? That's how we knew that 30 of these 72 schools have either the same number of cops as counselors or more cops than counselors, right? And if money is how we prioritize our children, like, what are we actually saying, right? And this is also true with special ed. Black and brown students are disproportionately have officer-related incidents, right? At a crazy rate. Please do check out that data. It's all in there. I want to start by reading off the definition, right? As Anna's mentioned, this is a collective national campaign. And then the question is going to be, can you describe that process when you guys were initially forming this coalition? And why did you guys right from the jump say we're going to be grounded in abolition versus there's definitely groups across the country and Chicago that are focused on training SROs and cops. Like if they just got training, then it'd be better, yada, yada, right? So to read the definition, I'm going to say that question again. So the collective definition is for police-free schools means dismantling school policing infrastructure, culture, and practice, ending school militarization and surveillance, and building a new liberatory education system. We believe removing police from our schools is a seed for removing them from our communities. We're abolitionists grounded in respective freedom traditions together. I remember being shook when I first learned your definition. So again, speak a little bit more about when you guys talked about it, why did you guys go right away to abolition of police versus just training SROs?
Oh my gosh, can I go? Yes. Okay, so I was talking to my friend about this the other day. To me, it's like, look, if I build some evil robots, are we gonna say like, let's paint them blue and show them the good way to life and like the good way to do things? Or are we gonna say that these robots were programmed to be evil and let's just get rid of them and get some like, I don't know, let's screw the whole robot idea in general and let's like actually connect with real people maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Police in general have stemmed from like literally slave catchers. Like their job here was to be anti-Black. Like their job foundation is on anti-Blackness and discrimination and racism. Like how do you expect to change that? Like with new training, right? With new training, even though like your whole purpose and your whole job is to enforce anti-Blackness. Like how does new training help that, right? And also like take care of ourselves. Like new training, what do they do? Because in my experience, right, a student has a seizure. Police are the first response. Right, calls 911. What they do? They stand there. They don't even create a human shield. They don't try to make the space more comfortable, try to help calm down the other students viewing this. They stand there. I'm at an action. Lady falls down. Thanks. What do? They stand there. Not offer water, not check, not to see if they're okay. In school, someone is having a mental health crisis right now. What do? Pat the student on the shoulder, not actually help. There are people who are already in place who work hella hard, get hella training and go to school for a very long time to actually be equipped to handle these situations. You can't like paint over blue on a problem that has been stemmed from like 400 years of slavery. Like, no, you can't. I'm sorry. That's not how that works. And yeah, police weren't here to keep us safe. They're here to build jails. They're here to arrest people. They're not here to actually solve problems. I tell people, if you have your phone stolen, and you just like, I just want my phone back, they can't guarantee getting your phone back. What they can guarantee is arrest, though. They can definitely guarantee arresting someone. It's never really made sense to me. Like, who thought that, yes, let's put these people in our school?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Love when Anna just speaks. I'm in love with her. I think it's just like the question of when did you decide that we needed police to begin with? Because I think no matter how you look at it, if you at all say that we need police to exist, you are saying that we as people, as human beings, are inherently evil, that we are inherently filled with malice. We are born with it, you know? And like nobody wants to be a criminal, you know? Like I think a lot of times when other people, specifically here in Chicago and in my neighborhood, talk about policing, they talk about it because of the gang violence and the gun violence that is happening within our communities. But the fact of the matter is the people who are in gangs and committing these violence and perpetuating these systems, do you think that they actively were like, yeah, I'm gonna wake up one day and just be a piece of shit? Like nobody decides that they want to sell, you know, they want to push drugs into this neighborhood. No, but they rather do that and get 40 all the time for doing that than be paid $8 an hour flipping burgers at McDonald's from disrespectful people who are coming and tells them that they can't do their job right. You know, the system is set up so that we are put in places of poverty and that our only solutions to remove ourselves from those positions are solutions that they criminalize, you know, that they say makes us inherently bad, you know. So for you to say that we just need police in general is for you saying that human beings are naturally born with malice and need to be kept in check, when in reality, you see there's communities that, like, you know, when they push cops out of their communities, what they rely on and what we've been relying on since the very beginning of this pandemic is our people, our community. Because like what we always say, we don't have, these people are not here to protect us and keep us safe. They're here to keep us in check and watch us until we slip up so they can push us behind bars. And then we can serve, you know, what is modernized prison, which is, you know, modernized slavery, which is, you know, prison work where you don't get paid for shit and you just work. And that's essentially what we are here for, to fight their wars and to you know, be the lower class and work for them while they make money off of our blood and sweat and tears, you know. And you know, abolishing police is a step in creating a huge new different society, because to me, when you liberate one, you liberate all. You know, the abolishment of police means the abolishment of prisons. The abolishment of prisons mean the abolishment of minimum wage, because where else are you going to go to get your labor now for cheaper? Now we can demand a better wage, you know. And you know, with better wages comes better living, better housing, better affordability. So you know, this one step can change the entire system where people are allowed to live and be happy that they exist.
Yes, Jen. And I just wanted to add that, like, it starts not even with policing, because policing to me looks like it's so much bigger than just having SROs and police in our schools. It literally is like when you're in kindergarten, taught 2 feet in a square and fold your arms and don't touch. And for 8 hours a day, we're saying like, no, you.
I don't know. I think you cut yourself off. Maybe potentially you're on mute.
In different ways.
Okay.
It starts with militarization. It starts with militarization, and yeah, from like fold your arms, don't talk, sit, which crisscross, like everything. If you just think about it, how schools operate in general, it starts with militarization, and that militarization is policing in the way that I can't get on a CPS computer without them knowing what I'm looking at. I have no autonomy within a school, and I think that all comes from it. Like SROs being able to give me tardies and discipline. Like how can 3 tardies equal? You can give me a detention for 3 tardies. I don't.
I saw Dream and Adia snapping to that. I was wondering if you wanted to chime in and add in your thoughts as well.
I was just gonna agree with, you know, the notion that people need policing, or the people need fear instilled into them to, like, basically what I'm saying is police in schools is instilling fear in students while they're trying to learn, while you're in a learning environment. If I live in my neighborhood every day where I see police are killing my uncles, aunties, people that look like me, and then I go in school and I see police, it's a fear tactic. It's like, do what you're supposed to do, stand in this square, like Anna said. It's militarized. Like, yeah, it's basically just fear tactic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I was just gonna say, like, to the question, I think that is like the definition, and we center abolition because we also center youth and Black and brown youth and their experience. And like when we ask their experience, when we think about our own experience, when we ask our parents about their experience, when we ask, you know, the random kid that we don't even know that we just met while protesting about their experience with, you know, police in schools, we are overwhelmingly hearing that they cause harm. We're overwhelmingly hearing that they oppress. We're overwhelmingly hearing that they are just, you know, the leader to prison. Like, they're just like, take my hand, you know, while you're in school, and next thing you know, you're locked up, you know. It shouldn't be, the pipeline shouldn't be that easy. You shouldn't be able to, you know, go to school one day and maybe you accidentally forgot you have a pocket knife in your pocket, because, you know, in your neighborhood you need that for defense, and that leads to arrest. That shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be that easy, you know. So I think we center youth voices, and because we center youth voices, we have to center their experience, that they don't get along with police, that police is not, you know, in their utopia.
Thank you for that. I think that's a great. Oh,
Said-
go for
sorry.
it. No, go on.
Someone just said in the group chat, like, that should never happen, by the way. That has actually happened to me personally before. I live on the south side, and I go to Shy Arts, which is all the way in Humboldt Park. It's like I take CTA. I take public transportation. I need a pocket knife. I was like freshman year. They suspended me for having it, but like my reason was valid. But yeah.
Can I just chime in and speak to that, because I dropped that in the chat. My name is T. McDaniel. I am a restorative justice practitioner. I work for an organization called Moja. I work in the Peace Room at Inglewood STEM. I worked for CPS in various capacities, a head of security and dean, and of course things like that pop up when young people traveling back and forth to school. So it's not only the police, it's the relationship of the adults in the building with the young people that allow stuff like that to happen. There is no way, as a dean or head of security, you walk through my security line that I'm going to confiscate that knife because I have to, because you're in the school, but I'm going to refer you to the police. I'm not going to do that to you, right? So it needs to be a conversation also around other adults in the building that's advocating and sticking up for Black and brown students so things like that don't happen. So if it's still if police are no longer in the building, but there's still adults in the building with that mindset, they can simply call police to the building. So it needs to be an overall understanding and the mindset shift of how we just gonna move differently around our kids and how we're gonna take care of each other at the same time.
Thank you for jumping in and sharing that. Oh, Anna, do you want to say something? No, you good? All right. I just wanted to thank you for sharing that. It's definitely, I mean, the school to prison pipeline, right? Breaking that down, obviously, I think starts with cops in many ways, but there are adults in the buildings that call the cops into the classrooms, right? Let's be very clear on that, right? So thank you for sharing. I think it's a great transition to talk about adultism. And I think what astounded me is you bring the research and they say, cool, let's see other research, right? And then let's bring personal stories and your lived experience. Let's look at other data, right? And I feel, and this has especially happened with the Board of Education, right? 4 men voted no, and they all shared out like their own realities, which are true, but they ignored, in some cases, your realities and all the research you guys did. And so my question is, like, why is it so hard for adults to listen and respect and center youth, but also give them the real power to make those changes?
Hey, pues, tú dime, you tell me. You're the grown one. I don't know. I feel like just doing this work does give you, like, at some point you do build this, like, cynicality and suspicion of grown people, just because it's like, I know when, like, a lot of times, like, you have your trusted adult allies that you've been rocking with and you've been, like, throwing down with for a long time, you know? So you trust them. But even they sometimes can have, like, their slip-ups and their moments of adultism, and it's just like, oof, you know? I think it is very much, like, just, like, something that is so ingrained into the world. I remember, like, being super young. I was, like, 10. I was like, I can't wait to be an adult. I can't wait to be an asshole to other kids. Like, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, I thought you had a friend. And it's like, I don't know. I think it's a lot of just, like, thinking that, like, because you are grown, that somehow immediately invalidates my own experience. It's like, okay, just because you, like, your mom gave birth to you sooner than my mom gave birth to me, don't make you any special, don't make you any smarter than me, you know? A lot of it, I think, just stems from, like, time equals experience. And because they have more time, therefore their experience is more valid than ours. When in reality, it's like, I think this was said, like, way before, in, like, another different, like, an action that I went to yesterday. Like, experiences are all different. We cannot measure every single, like, situation as the same, with the same value as we did another experience, because everything is always so different in the way, not just the way you are born, that you get your certain privileges just out of how you are born, but also, you know, your economic status, you know, just like there are so many things you cannot control that contribute to your experience. And for, like, grown people to be like, experience equals validation, but still not validate any experience but their own, is probably something that does play a very big role in, you know, adultism. I also did, like, I just want to say I'm so happy that they chimed in. and said that stuff, because I do feel like we have to have a deeper conversation about like what grown folk and what teachers and like their role in like defunding police and like all the school to prison pipeline, because so many grown folk just like sit down and go, what can we do? I still remember going to my counselor, like tears, crying because I was having a really bad day. Like a panic attack just hit me because like it was like a day after another school shooting was announced. And like that day I was just on edge the entire time. Like anyone, like I remember I being in Spanish class and someone shut the door too loud. And like I froze up, had like broke down. I had to be sent to like, to my counselor. And that's how this all happened, you know? And I remember like telling her, like, I feel so helpless. Like we can't do anything. Like I'm just waiting for somebody to walk into this school and decide to start shooting. Like, you know, and it's heartbreaking that that's not just like my experience, you know. And all she told me was like, well, what can you do? You know, like, you know, we have metal detectors, we have security guards, we have blah blah. I'm like, that's not preventionary, that's reactionary. Like I'm not waiting for, you're telling me to wait until this happens, you know. But in reality, you are normalizing school shootings, which is a whole different other conversation that I'm very heated about. And so I feel like, you know, like I'm out here, me and my other friends, my peers, we're out here putting our bodies on the line, demanding change, demanding policy. But you guys are out here sitting in your office chairs, twiddling your thumbs, saying that y'all can't do shit. Like I'm out here being pepper sprayed in the face to make change, but y'all are saying that y'all got like your hands are tied. No, quit being cowards. Do something. Like the young people that you swore to protect are being harmed, and you're doing nothing about it. You know. So I really do think we have to talk about, and I think maybe even scold grown people who do not play their role in demanding a better future for us. So thank you for coming out and just popping through. I love that discussion.
Yeah, no, for sure. It made me think about how, like, if I'm in any space and there's any adult willing to call the police, I'm distrustful of not only the whole environment at this point, but I'm distrustful of all adults in here. Because why you letting this adult come in here talking about calling the police? All y'all ops, and y'all all on eggshells. Like, I don't know. It makes me think, like, I can't trust anybody. If there was an adult in my house willing to call the police, you got to get out. You have to get out. We don't do that here. And like anybody who is just willing to first yeah, just be punitive in like punishments and reactionary instead of like preventionary, like Jen definitely said. It was well beautifully said. And yeah, it just made me think about that. Like I think that is a clear message adults need to hear, that like the moment you are willing to call the police, or you're willing to be a bystander to someone else calling the police and not stepping in.
No, I think you cut out in the last 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And you still may be frozen, so we may move on. I know, no. I know Hayah wanted to say something as well.
Yeah, what was the point of this? I forgot.
Yeah, the question was about adultism, right? And like kind of like the challenges about learning. Yeah.
I was thinking, oh my gosh. Okay. So if I was in an environment where I was even with adults that felt like it was okay to call police on me, or like to bring someone with a gun in the situation, I would, it just makes you feel unsafe. It makes you feel like the people around you either don't trust you, don't trust your intentions, or they think that you're threatening and that somebody with a gun is needed to come in, like somebody with a gun is needed to come and like de-escalate the situation, when actually it's gonna escalate the situation. Bring police actually instills fear in people, and it doesn't make any situation better, especially when you're in school.
Thank you for sharing that. We have 2 more questions left, and we're gonna open it up to the chat. So please put it in on the chat if you have questions. This has been a long campaign with lots of ups and downs. The city council vote is in rules right now. There's one unsuccessful Board of Education vote. There's another one in August. There's LSE votes happening every day. I was wondering, what lessons have you guys learned as part of this campaign, and how's that going to inform you? Because this campaign is nowhere close to being over, right, in this next month.
Yeah, I can go. I can hit a little bit. I think a lot of this is just like when I think about like how I started with police free schools, it started like when that 4 years happened, but I think it was like we started discussing about it, you know, the momentum dies down, and now that like all of this like Black Lives Matter, defund police, all of this conversations start becoming center conversations, you know, which weren't conversations that we were having very often beforehand. You know, we have some people who we work with, specifically an adult ally like when she first called to defund police, she got booed off stage. She got death threats. They try to cut the mic off her. Like the shift in conversation is very, very clear, especially if you've been doing this work for a very long time. And I think it's just like, I think learning what being an abolitionist, being part of abolition and calling yourself an abolitionist means. Because I do know, I won't lie, when I first started this work, when I first started going to like no cop meetings, because this is really very much where the conversation of defund police stemmed from. Like we have to give credit to the no cop campaign, which really did spark the conversations of defund police and removing policing from schools. Like when I first started joining and like people were immediately already calling for abolishment of police, like I was 100% on for it, but I was also like, how will this work, you know? But it's also kind of like, you know, abolition, and like organizing, you don't have all of the answers, you know? It's a journey, it's a process of learning and growing, and it's like checking yourself in your privilege every day. And it's like just learning and like hearing experiences from other people, and like just meeting so many people doing this work, and like understanding that like a lot of it, like when you see us, we're all very pissed and we're all very angry, and we're all very valid in that anger. Like we do not police each other's anger, and that anger will always be valid, very valid. But it's also a lot of joy and like a lot of love and support. And like where I'm always coming from is, you know, becoming an organizer is being someone, you know, full of love, because you're organizing and you're fighting these powers of oppression for people that you love and for people you don't even know but you love because you want them to have a better life, you know. A lot of campaigns that I go, you know, have like pushed for and I'm very proud and honored to be a part of are campaigns that don't directly impact me, like the Fight for 15. I was like, what, 14? I didn't even have a job, you know? But it was still like people deserve to survive and be able to live off what they work for, you know? And it's just literally all just coming from love. I think a lot of things that I've learned from this is like take the wins, because I feel like there was always like a celebrate even the small wins, you know, where it's like we celebrated the vote, which was like a 3 to 4 vote, you know, like a very close vote. We celebrated that even if we didn't get it, because it's like the fact that we even got votes is amazing, you know. The fact that you are coming together with a community and people who are as compassionate and as loving and as radical as you should be something you celebrate too, you know. I think it's just taught me, I feel like organizing and just like this specific campaign has taught me a lot about becoming a person, you know, of love and compassion and radical anger that is very valid, and it still does make me a good person, you know. So yeah, we all we got. I've learned a lot, and I feel like I've grown a lot from these campaigns that I've been a part of. Like I was definitely a very different person when I started these campaigns.
Any other folks like to chime in and add to that before we jump into some of the other questions?
I would say what I've learned from all this is you really have to meet people where they are. You know, like for a long time, I was doing a lot of work, a lot of organizing, but a lot of people, the closest people around me didn't know anything about organizing. And I had to like really check myself and be like, am I really organizing? You know, yeah, I can go out and I can organize people who think like me, and I can give these workshops to people who are starting to, you know, plant the seed of abolition. But it's like, can I have these hard conversations with my grandmother, you know, who believes that police equals safety, who at the first sign of fear will, you know, police, you know. So learning like to meet people where they are, having these hard conversations, and really having to learn to just let people know that police do not equal safety and resources equal, you know, like a happy community, and having to like paint that for people, or let people come to that conclusion for themselves. And I would say ways that people can get involved. I know people are dropping amazing links and things in the chat. But you know, cops out of schools, the I don't know. Just looking at the links. The links are great. There's some great links in there. I wanna ban Black Action Network. What else? Yeah, I would say yeah, Black Action. I don't think I've seen that in the comments, but yeah.
Great. Our last kind of schedule question, and then we're going to jump into hopefully about 8 minutes, sorry y'all, of participant questions, is like the alternatives to policing, right? Which is what a lot of the questions are related to. Attacking like the culture, right? It's not just about the police themselves, about the teachers who are calling the police, the contract that I see that's part of their CTU contract, right? But if you do the math really quickly, you have 2 cops in your schools, that's $300,000. You guys share one mobile unit, usually among an average of 3 to 4 schools. They get paid, and we pay their salaries. Staff sergeants are also split among the same district. So that's easily, if you proportion that out, that's easily $350,000 at each school. And so, and that's a pretty conservative measure. So I'm curious about, just from a few folks, what would you like to see instead, right? We know counselors, right? But what would you like to see instead at your school?
I'm sorry. I currently work at a school that's on 70. It's by 79th. It's an alternative high school actually, and it's called CYDI, Community Youth. I'm sorry, I forgot the whole thing, but it's called CYDI, and they have like a relaxing room for like some of the kids that may have like ADHD, or they get like panic attacks, or just like anything where you need to decompress and just like relax. And I feel like that's a really good like tactic that most schools, it's a really good approach that most schools should think of when they think of calming down their students or de-escalating any situation. I feel like it should be in a more of a nurturing sense than disciplinary, basically. But as I was saying, they have like bean bags and stuff like that, and it's like a very comfortable room, and you can tell that they actually put like effort into thinking about their students and what their students might need and stuff like that. I just feel like every school should think about their students in that way.
Yeah, when you say that, I think of literally anything else. It's literally anything else that you can direct it that is actually focused on schooling, like anything that goes to schools. You know, you think about counselors, you think about nurses, you think about librarians. I think about like when I'm having these conversations with my friends, I think about and like who went to my high school. It's like, would you rather have a cop in our hallways, or would you rather have cake decorating club back, huh? Because I know my high school used to have a little club that was just for cake decorating. Like they would buy the cakes and you decorate it and you could just give them out. And it's literally just like you ask that question and it's immediate, like, oh yeah, I would rather have a cake decorating club, you know, instead of a cop in my halls. So you think about like additional funding for clubs. I know, like, you know, what they just said, they had that relax room. I know in my elementary they brought together a couple youth, created a peace room, you know, where a bunch of them and their peers could go and relax if they had a bad day. That would be a great thing. You know, facilitators for restorative justice, you know, anything that helps build community within a school, because that's honestly what you need for school and like people to develop well. That's all you need, not policing, but community.
Yeah, no, y'all definitely said some really raw things. And I was just thinking, like, maybe if I didn't have to walk up all those damn stairs, I wouldn't be so angry all the time. Like, can we get some ramps? What about the people who have whip? Like, I think about Kenwood, and like literally there's too many students and it's ridiculous. And people who are using wheelchairs literally can't get through anywhere. And we have these very claustrophobic looking elevators and things like that that are only limited to people like our adults and things like that, which is ridiculous to me. But also, like, I know I be hangry sometimes. And most of the time when I get kicked out of class and I gotta go do somewhere or go kick it with some type of dean or something, it's probably because I just be hungry and y'all school kind of whack. Y'all school food kind of whack. Like, I'm thinking about just even the basic stuff of like, maybe if we had books that actually weren't like ripped up, you know, maybe if people just had basic things, like if I knew every student in the classroom came to school with a pencil or had a pencil to get when they did come to class, like just basic things like that, basic things that students get called out for not having and things like that. And then I think about like, yeah, the spaces that I love, spaces that I love to go to and be like, oh, I can't wait to go to after school. Asada's Daughters, or even Chicago Freedom School. Like, they have a whole room when they do workshops that you can go to just for a timeout. Like, if you need a nap, trust me, if I needed a nap and couldn't get a nap at my house, I would go to CFS because I know I could get a nap there. I know that, like, I don't know, it feels great knowing that I can go into a space and that there's going to be pads, tampons, and whatever you need there. Like, and that's not guaranteed at school. And I feel like we just start there, maybe even, you know, less fights will pop off. I know it just be the little things that set me off, right? And it's because I don't have everything I need when I need it, and it's things that I should have when I need it, you know? It feels so great to be able to go to my side of space and know that, like, I need food, there's going to be food there. There's going to be food there. And there's going to be food that I actually want and kick it with that is actually healthy for me also, you know, and finding a balance of, you know, there, I know that, like, if I'm in trouble, that I can call my my mentor and they will help me out. They will actually help my problem out and not just the issue, right? They're gonna solve like what I actually want and need, and they're gonna ask me what do I want and how would I like to get there, and then they'll ask just how can they support instead of making the decision on what it looks like, what my helps look like.
Wow.
Yeah, when I hear this question, I just think about the day I came to school dehydrated, tired, overworked, overwhelmed. Came into the building. I was late. I was critically late, and automatically my school resource officer, you always come in here late. You know that they can take you to jail for that. Thank you for that, because my school's in the heart of Inglewood and almost everybody in this building is Black and brown. And I need for the first thing to hear when I walk into my school building is that I can go to jail just because I'm late, because I have to take the bus every day because of stuff that you didn't mind your business about, right? So then I continue to walk into the school, you know, and then I have math class. I have trig, right? I'm a sophomore and I'm taking trig. It's hard out here. So I'm just overwhelmed, and then I start to like have a breakdown in class, and I leave the class, and the teachers are just like, hey, excuse me, I need you to go somewhere. You can't be crying in the hallway. Oh, my bad. Let me get out of your hair, you know, crying in the hallway. So as I'm walking my way to the counselor's office, I see the school resource again. Why are you okay? Are you out of class? Do you need help? Do you need anything? No, I don't need anything from the same person who just said they were going to said I could be arrested this morning. So, you know, so it's just like, then I go to the counselor's office. There's no counselor there. I try to make an excuse to go to the nurse. My nurse only comes to my school 2 out of 5 days a week. Are you serious? But the first thing I heard this morning was that I could go to jail. But I don't have no resource. I don't have a place to cry. I can't even go eat nothing because I'm so late and I'm getting in trouble. You know, it's just like, these are all the alternatives. All of this would have made it better. And then when my aunt finally comes to pick me up, they tell them how I'm disrespectful, how, you know, I walked out of class, all this, not that she's having a mental breakdown. And so this is what I think about when I think of what people ask, well, what do you need? That's just one day of high school. That was one day, and I can give you thousands of stories.
Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that all what you guys said was super powerful. As a teacher who've taught for 6 years before this job, I've heard those same things, right? And it's a lot about power and a lot about control, right? And so thank you for sharing those truths and naming that that's just one day, right? There's 4 youth on this. If we expanded this out, I can't even imagine what we hear. So anything else, focus on community. So I think we probably have time for one more question. I'm going to put in the chat again. It's a little longer of a question. So how do we create an education system where it is the standard of punishment, intimidation, force, guns, violence are not acceptable tools for teaching? There are many educators within CPS that openly admit they cannot envision their role without having a cop in their school. When does that become a fireable offense, where you can no longer hold your position if you can't do it without the threat of force and violence? There's other questions connected to this about it's part of the teacher contract as well to have staff be able to have the ability to call cops, right? And I'd love to hear where y'all are at with that.
Wow, that's kind of crazy. Okay, when you first said that, like, there's some people that there's some CPS staff that admit that they can't do their job if cops aren't there. It's like, should you be at a school? I don't know if you should be working at a school if you can't do it without cops around. Sorry if you hear squeaking, my dog just came into the room. And so it's like, it's kind of crazy because it's like the fact of the matter is that you see all these, some of my crew know that I park in the background. So like, it's just kind of like, if you cannot walk into a school space without the idea of force and like without the idea of I need to intimidate and like threaten these young folks who are figuring out who they are and maybe have a bad day. If I cannot do that, I cannot perform my job properly, then you do not belong in a school, period. There's no more discussion to have. Like, I am done. So yeah, it's kind of just crazy. If you can't do your job without cops and like violence, you should not be around young people.
I noticed that I noticed that the question just started with like how, and I think like how do I practice even this in my daily life? It's always asking questions first. If I'm mad that somebody did something to me, right, and I'm just like, yeah, you did me so dirty, but like ask questions first. Like, well, what was going on in your head? Like, you know, how was your day that day? I think a lot of issues that I've had in school could have been solved with just a simple, how was your day? And actually mean it though. That's the important part. Actually mean it. And the most times I've heard that from SROs and police officers were to be condescending and sarcastic. You don't care about my day. You were saying that just so then you can tell me to get to class. Or then to use it against me, which has happened multiple times, right? And to also just acknowledge and know that everybody is experts in their own experience. I heard that, like, I don't know, my dean calls me a rebel with no cause because I told a racist teacher that he needs to get out of my school. And just not acknowledging that I'm an expert in my own experience, that I know what hurts, and I know what doesn't feel good. And to just respect that. And to respect that, like, I am also a human who has had experience. Like, you've probably had handcuffs on your wrist, and so have I. My little brother, at like 8 years old, rode in the backseat of a cop car. And to say that we are all experts, more of the story, in our own experience, and to acknowledge that and to just ask questions about my experience because you don't know my experience. And don't be condescending when asking questions about my experience. Ask because you care. And if not, if you don't care, what are you doing in a school full of children?
All right, we are just about out of time. Thank you to our Police Free School youth members so much for hopping on and just always being present and showing up. Tina, did you have anything else to say before we wrap up the program?
No, thank you all so much for this amazing panel. I just can't tell you how grateful I am to even be listening in.
Yeah, no, please follow their wisdom, right? Follow them in the link that has the data. It also has how you can follow them on social media, and that's where you'll hear about upcoming things. Because trust me, there's more things coming, right? And there's a vote. The Board of Education vote is on August 26th. All right, thank you all. Have a good one.